All right, golf addicts, DB here. I'm proud to bring another banging guest with us today, Mr. Chris Gotterup. You guys know Chris. He's the new, young, hot bomber on the PGA Tour, making everybody feel like absolute bitches because we can't hit it but like 230 on a good day in the heat, firm fairways. Chris, thanks for joining the Tour Junkies podcast. We appreciate it, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
All right, first question. You've chosen Kip Henley as your caddy. Are you sure?
I've gotten that question more than once. Yeah, I mean, he's quite the character, and we're definitely different, which I think is good for both me and him. Yeah, we're good for now.
Listen, so we've been doing this since like 2015. We were one of the first podcasts to like really interview caddies. And we've interviewed a bunch of caddies since. We love caddies. And Kip was actually one of our very first ones. He may have been the first one. I have to go back and check the records. But I texted Kip last night, and man, he had a lot of good stuff to say about you. But I'd like to know, like, he's just such a funny guy. What's like some of the best Kip sayings or maybe phrases or one-liners? Have you had a chance to like get any of those so far? Because I'd imagine if I walked around with Kip Henley, there'd be a few things that come out of his mouth that I'd just be like, well, first of all, I never want to say that myself. But then I think there's other things that I'd be like, man, I want to file that away and use that like when I'm with my buddies or something.
Yeah, he's definitely like the king of one-liners. Me being from New Jersey, like he just speaks a different language. Everything he says is different. The one thing I'll say, like, if that caught me so off guard is there was one time we had like whatever 210 yards, and he would say 2010 like he would say it where it was 2010, and I was like, he was like 20 yards. I'm like, what? And he's like, he explained this whole story where this guy, he says it wrong, and the way he just says is so, like, to me it's so wrong and like not like it just sounds terrible to me, but it makes it funny just because it's who he is. But yeah, he'll just throw out these one liners. I'll say something back to me, and I do a double take, and I look right back at him like, "What did you just say?" I He has so many. I don't even. They just go in one out, in here, one out here,
Yeah.
the other. Um, but he is great. He's got something to say for everything.
Yeah, he
Um,
does.
and it's great entertainment.
Quite the active Twitter account too. I'm curious in the Kip Henley. First of all, like how did you choose Kip Henley, and like how did that come about? But also in that, I I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing that Kip at some point looks at the guy who he's about to get in this relationship with and says, "Hey, dude, you just need to know I'm going to tweet shit. And you may or may not agree with it. And it may draw attention to me. And some guys like that, some guys don't." I would imagine that probably went down.
I mean, I kind of knew about it before. So my buddy caddied for me all summer, and he followed Kip just because. And so it's funny. We actually met this summer randomly. We were traveling together from Travelers to John Deere because he was caddying for McGirt, and we flew with McGirt to John Deere, and uh, and so that's where we met. And then ever since we kind of just randomly saw each other. And then my buddy and we were done after the summer, so he's working now, and so I knew what I was getting myself into. I just kind of let him go do his own thing because I know I'm not going to be able to do anything to control it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just let him go and let him do what he wants.
Yeah. You can't put reins on Kip Henley.
No.
Um, we love Kip. He had a lot of good things to say about you. We'll get to that here in just a second. But I want to talk about this real quick. I mean, I know a lot of our listeners are going to know about you as a golfer. We know obviously you hit it really far, you swing fast, you hit it hard, all this kind of stuff. Um, but I guess what are some things that you're looking at, in this early part of your PJ Tour career, still not a full season out there, right? You've got like 12 events or 13 events logged, I think. But you're doing well. I mean, T7 in Puerto Rico, T4 at the John Deere. I think you've only missed 2 cuts of all your PGA Tour events. T43 at Southern Hills for the U.S. Open. What are those things that you're most like now that you've had some reps out there? You're thinking like, okay, this is where I really have to improve. This is where I got to pick up strokes.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I have to drive the ball well. If I'm driving it well, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play well. So that's always been my mo. And then I'm always working on putting. Definitely not my strength, but I know that if I can get it going with the putter, I'm gonna be fine if I'm driving it fine. But if I can get it going with the putter, that's where it turns into T7 or
Yeah.
T4 or win. So um, yeah, I mean those are the two, and you can never have a good enough short game out there. You watch all these guys with these shots, and
Yeah.
you just try to mimic, at least pick up one or two things just playing with these guys. So um, that's definitely the biggest thing. And then for me, it's been tough with. I mean, this summer was nice because I played, whatever, 13 or 12 events, kind of all in a row. So I got in a nice groove. Definitely overdid it a little bit, but and then these last couple have been tricky where I'm sitting at home and then I go play a week and then I go sit at home again and then go play. So it's hard to get in a groove when you're kind of going on off. So that's also the biggest thing, just getting consistent and you know getting to know myself better as I go through it.
So we've talked to a lot of guys about this before, we know certain players, their first event back from a break, not good. When we
Yeah.
also know certain players like their fourth event in a row, fifth event in a row, not good. What do you feel like early on is maybe the sweet spot for you?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, this summer, I learned that four is kind of my four in a row is my kind of max.
Yeah.
And I did way more than four, so I was definitely feeling it. But yeah, I think it's important. I've definitely found that it's important to at least do like three in a row, just to get in that kind of tournament groove, and you don't really think about anything once you're in the second, third, fourth week,
Yeah.
unless your back starts hurting a little bit or something starts hurting. But
Yeah.
it's definitely important to do a certain amount in a row and then take a certain amount of time off.
So you talked about, it's interesting that you say like, I got to feel like the driver's working, right? And everyone looks at you and says like, oh man, this is the guy's biggest weapon, which obviously it is, but you got to keep the ball in the ballpark. So I'm assuming that's kind of what you mean is like that you're finding the more fairways, or you're missing on the proper sides of fairways, or your foul ball that week is more, you know, 5 to 10 yards offline, instead of out of bounds. How do you know that how do you do that? Or can you see that coming? Can you see it coming when, maybe you go from a point where you're not hitting as many fairways as you want, but you kind of feel it coming? How does that work?
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of always like I'm always teetering from, I usually like playing a fade, but if it starts to get too much, too open, I kind of start bringing it back. And there's the spots where I kind of go to too much fade where everything gets a little bit off. And then when I start bringing it back, I go kind of too much the other way.
Mm.
And then you can kind of tell that's when it gets off. So for me, I'm just trying to keep it in the sweet spot of, nice small fade as much as I can. And um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of just one of those things where I know that if I can keep that as a strength and work on that a lot, it'll be huge for me. But there's obviously, yeah, I mean, you can never not work on anything enough.
Sure.
But it's more just kind of the same thing I was talking about. If you're playing 3 weeks in a row, you kind of get in the groove of the feeling that you like with how you're swinging it or whatever. And that's kind of just how I go about it. If I have a good feeling or a good groove going that week, I'll just try to ride that out and keep that going as long as I can.
Yeah. So you talked about the putting thing, and we're golf nerds. We look at data, we look at all kind of stuff with putting splits on its fast greens, slow speed or slow greens, Bermuda, bent, POA, all the above. For you, I would imagine New Jersey guy. Do you find yourself more comfortable? I mean, by the way, also looking at this of your 12 events. I think you gained strokes putting in like 2/3 of them. I mean, you didn't have like a Denny McCarthy week where you gained like 6, but you were gaining strokes. You were positive, which is a lot better than notorious really good ball strikers who really struggle on the putting surfaces. Is there a putting surface or style that you feel more comfortable on, and which one do you feel least comfortable on?
Um, I don't know. Part of the reason why I went to Oklahoma was to play on Bermuda and play on different grass.
Yep.
So I got used to playing on Bermuda and bent and different types of bent. Like up here, it's not the same bent as down there. It's definitely a way firmer and like trickier bend up here.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I have an answer to that. It's more honestly, I think it has more to do with you know the irons and like chipping and stuff. That's where it gets more tricky for me. Putting it unless it's super grainy or super like different, it's really not all that dissimilar. It's more chipping and stuff like that where it gets way trickier. And chipping out of Bermuda rough or normal rough for me, that's where I find the biggest difference.
Yep. Yep. So, what are some courses like you look ahead to your PGA Tour schedule? Obviously, it could be courses you've already played, but also those you haven't played yet. What are the ones you look at and kind of you circle and go, yeah, this spot is great for me. I can't wait to tee it up here.
Yeah, I mean, Travelers and John Deere were both, if I had to pick golf courses, those would be two. I mean, John Deere, you could hit driver on every hole, but like two of them, which
Mhm.
is right up my alley. Because for me, I don't like bouncing back and forth where I have to hit a lot of two irons and then a lot of drivers, and it kind of just throws off, the same thing, the groove I was talking about before. So I think Torrey Pines would fall into that category, where it's just kind of drivers everywhere.
Yep.
And I've heard Waste Management is good for that too. Um, and honestly, I don't even know the schedule that much. I haven't really looked at it at all, but yeah, I mean, it looks from what I know and what I watch, like the Tournament of Champions course looks like driver central everywhere.
Yep.
Um, so that style of just getting in the groove with the driver and where you can hit it 12 times around is kind of where I like to be at.
So obviously, I'd imagine courses where it takes driver out of your hand, or courses where because of the layout or because of hazards or whatever, like it kind of forces everybody to hit to those same spots. You probably aren't a huge fan of those. Um, what are courses like that, like a shorter course or one of those courses where everybody's hitting it to the same spot? What do those courses do to a guy like you, other than like get you out of the, I guess, the rhythm or what the vibe of you hitting a driver everywhere you go? I mean, obviously you could hit a 2 iron probably 280 or something if you wanted to. So what is it really? Do you feel like you're just your greatest weapon is kind of taken out of your hands a little bit there?
Yeah, for sure. It just changes how you approach it mentally. I feel like I'm playing safe and kind of scared when I do that, but it's kind of how you have to play when you're playing those type of courses.
Yeah.
So for me, and that's where it goes back to I worked a lot on my wedge game and short iron game in school the last couple of years. So I feel better playing those courses. Like Q school was, I hit maybe 4 or 5 drivers for 72 holes. So um, it's just it's different golf. Like I don't feel like I'm playing the same type of golf. It's not my favorite, but I've learned to, college golf. A lot of those courses are like that too, and you kind of learn to do it. It wouldn't be my favorite style, but you can't say no. So
Now, Jason Birnbaum's still your coach, right?
yeah,
Okay, good. So you still got Jason, who's been I know has been coaching you for a long time. Um, so I think it's the PGA. Is it the PGA Championship next year? Is it Oak Hill? Any familiarity with Oak Hill?
I've never been there, but I've heard it's special.
Okay, all right, we'll be looking out for you there. Um, a couple more golf questions, then we're just gonna start. We're gonna get weird. You shot a 9 under on TPC Scottsdale's Bad Little Nine, Bob Parsons spot. I know you talked about it on the Golf Subpar podcast. My question is, what makes that little par three course? What actually makes it really hard? What do they actually do to it that makes it so hard?
Well, I will say a bit of an asterisk on my -9.
Oh, are you juicing?
The greens they were like just off of getting not
Oh
they
yeah.
were puttable, but like they're aerated, so it takes a little bit of the sting out of it.
Hmm.
But it's hard because the greens are all the sides of the table and or where they put the pin. So if you don't hit the table spot, you have an impossible chip, or you have a 50-foot putt up over like 6 ridges. So it's it's kind of just it's more fun than anything. But we were playing one day. We were playing like a 3v3v3 or something like that, and I forget who was on my team, but me and my teammate both made hole in ones on the same hole, and
Stop.
we took like a 6-shot lead. So
What?
that also helped. But yeah, it's just a awesome spot.
Okay. Now, I forgive me for not knowing this exactly, but I, were you 21 when you did that? And what was the drinking situation after that?
Well, I don't count it as a hole in one since it's like you're hitting 9 52-degree wedges all to
Uh,
like hole in one
dude,
hole.
that's a
So
hole
like
in one. You're
yeah,
hitting 52
it's
degree wedges. Everyone else is hitting 7 irons, 8 irons.
all the holes are
They're really
80 to
short.
120 yards.
Oh, really? Man,
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what
want
that's why it's fun.
what is there? Because I think it was rumored. Wasn't it? Didn't it used to be a rule like if you broke par there, Bob Parsons would give you like $1,000 or something? Wasn't that?
They have like I think it's every Friday they put like the pins in the hardest possible spot
Okay.
on every hole, and that's when they do that. But
Okay.
that wasn't the case when we played.
Okay. So a little bit of an asterisk, still impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
Astros for sure.
all right, so we got a lot of people, a lot of Tour Junkies listeners, man. They're in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And a lot of them are out of shape because these jokers, whenever they buy our merch, we have to order a bunch of damn XLs and 2XLs because, they're just out of shape. But they're trying to play golf, they're trying to get better, they're trying to hit it further. Like practically, okay? Put your coaching hat on. All right? Be Jason for a second. Practically, how do I get these people to hit it a little further? Practically, what could they do? They're not professionals, they're your weekend warriors. They're 20, 30s, 40s. They just want to hit a little further.
I mean, the first thing I would say is um, kind of forget about all like the keep your head down BS. Like that stuff doesn't really work in any aspect really. So I think if you can get rid of like all these mental blocks that you hear on certain little swing tips, if you can just free up as best you can and take as big of a turn and get comfortable. I think the biggest thing is also getting comfortable hitting it hard. Like if you swing soft all the time, you're probably not going to be able to hit it hard and it go well. So if you can learn to hit it hard, just like being comfortable swinging hard, that's where you're going to pick up speed for sure.
Now, I saw something where you talked about how with the driver, like you grip it pretty firm, but you feel like your arms are loose. Explain that kind of feeling to me because a lot of times another thing you hear is like have the grip pressure a little lighter, not like wobbling around in there, but like you don't want to choke the golf club to death. But how do you do that? How do you squeeze it firmer but also have like that loose arm feel?
For me, I play with really small grips, so I'm able to like wrap my hands over the club. So that's kind of where that feeling comes from. So I'm gripping it hard just because my hands like control the club really well with how small my grip is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of I feel like it's really tight in my hands, but it's I'm not gripping it. I'm gripping it hard, but like I'm
Yeah.
not strangling the thing. It's just kind of a firmer feeling, and then my arms just get in a comfortable spot because my hands are wrapped around the club the way they are.
Okay, so let me ask you about something. So the world golf ranking stuff has been a hot topic lately. You obviously have got all the live stuff going on. What do you think about like as just a guy playing professionally, just getting into this? What do you think about this world golf ranking stuff? Do you think the system makes sense as far as you know? Do you feel like people have reasons to think that changes should be coming? What are your thoughts on it?
From what I know, which is not a whole lot about it, we were in the workout truck last week, and Ron was talking about his complaining about like how their rankings were higher at RSM and than the DP World Championship. But some guys said some good points, like they were talking about. Well, I don't know how many people were in the DP Championship, like 40 or 50, something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
So you think about there's 100 and change more people playing in the RSM. Um, and I mean, my buddy Cole was leading after first two rounds, and he hadn't really he made like his first cut the week before. So you think about the strength of field in the RSM, like some guy comes in, gets a sponsor exemption, and is leading, and then you have the same old guys in DP World Tour that are gonna be up there every week. Not that DP's bad, but like I think there's points to both. Like obviously the best player in the world, best players in the world, like wherever they're playing, their points should be there. But I think there's also a fair argument for the more players and the more like deeper the fields are, whether you know their name or not, doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
shouldn't get like point value as well.
Yeah, the field size definitely matters. What are your thoughts on the whole live golf thing? The whole what do you think's going to happen? How's it going to turn out? Do you have any friends that are playing on live golf? Or you got a couple Sooners or at least one Sooner on live?
Yeah, Abe's playing.
Yeah.
And then I played with James Pyatt in college a lot. So I don't know. I think.
I walked with him at a practice round in Miami.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the live thing's interesting. Like, I think that they all, I mean, from what I know and from what I've heard, like everyone that signed with Live knew what they were signing up for.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they feel like they have like a stance or a ground to stand on with some really high players over there, they feel like they can earn like some of those points back. But if I know what I know, like I don't think unless something happens where there's a like collaboration of some sort, like I don't think anything's gonna change.
You don't think anything's going to change, even if like Greg Norman was out?
I mean, I think
Maybe
the
not.
stance that the tour took on it last year, like if they fall back on like that, unless there's like a collaboration like Rory's been saying, like
Yeah.
I just don't see how they can just flip back on their word and you know I don't know it's so like it's so up in the air. And now that like they kind of lost, like I mean, there was some serious steam. Now that they're not really playing much, I don't think like anything's gonna get done unless something happens that's crazy.
Yeah. All right, I want to have some fun with you here, Chris. Some of this will be golf related, some of it won't be. We call it the native area. It's just because you hit it in the native area, you don't know what you're going to get. It could be a great lie, could be a bad lie, could be in the rough, could be in the mulch, could be in the pine straw, could be in the desert. You don't know. The first question actually comes from my son. I have a 12-year-old who's a big golf nut, and I asked him. I said, I was telling him about you, and telling him about how far you hit it and all that stuff. He was amazed. And then he said, I don't know why this is related, but then he says, well, then I want to know, has he ever raged on the golf course? Has he ever gotten really pissed and had a rage monster fit, probably like the guys on Dude Perfect do? That's what my son Collins wants to know.
I've never like broken clubs or like slammed my bag or anything. Like I'm good for a nice F bomb after a bad shot. Like 15 seconds of curse myself out and then bring it back to reality. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's been a massive like full on meltdown, but I'm good for like a quick fu and then go.
Well, one of the things that Kip Henley texted me last night was, dude, this kid's head on his shoulders is super level, and he stays very calm, and he doesn't get up or too high or too low, which is a great asset out there on the PGA Tour. I think we've seen guys do that and do quite well. So that makes sense to me. Speaking of breaking clubs, though, now I do ask this of everyone, even though I'm sure you probably haven't had too many opportunities for this experience, but a guy on the tour that has broken clubs. In fact, one of them is behind me. You can't see it, but it's behind me. I have the top half of his putter, and he's also our very favorite folklore player on the PGA Tour, and it's Siwoo Kim. Chris, have you had a chance to have any interactions with Siwoo Kim?
I've played in front of him one time, but
Okay.
I've heard some pretty epic stories.
You have? Okay. We try to get Siwoo Kim stories on this show. We've gotten a lot. Matt Naismith dropped like 5 on us a couple months ago. They were amazing. What Siwoo Kim stories have you heard?
Well, in Vegas, so there was a playoff baseball game. I want to say it was like Mariners. It was Mariners someone, and they were up like 9-1. I forget who they were playing. And I guess he had. I think the Mariners were up, and I guess before the game he had some stupid number on their money line, and they ended up losing like 10-9 in overtime. And the next day, like all the caddies were dying laughing, and because like I've never talked to him, but I think his English is pretty broken, so
Yeah.
it's just funny like a guy like that, having like such a brutal bad beat on a baseball game is pretty funny.
Dude, I freaking love that so much. Listen, here's what I tell all the young guys that don't have a lot of interactions with him is like try to make something happen. Okay, we've heard so many stories about that guy. I think if if you even if it's just like hit balls next to him on the range or find yourself in a practice round with him, or if you do get paired up with him, like just pay attention to some of the stuff he says and does because he is straight up electric all the
Yeah,
time. So, and when you do have an interaction, like email us or DM me and let me know. I would love to hear the stories.
uh,
We're trying to gather a library of Siwoo Kim stories.
I know there's some other good ones out there, but he's quite the character from what I heard.
Yeah. All right. So I think I've heard you say this. Like, you're not a super like golf nerd. You know, I mean, you like golf, but you're not consumed with it. So you've got a completely free day to do whatever Chris Gotterup wants to do. What are you doing?
Well, I hope it's in the summer because there's not much to do right now at home. I mean, if it's summertime, we'll go. Like, me and my buddy, we'll probably play or hang out in the morning, do something, and then we'll go to the beach, hang out. We live like 3-4 minutes from the beach over here, so we'll go down there, hang out, and maybe go play like 9 holes in the afternoon, and then go out at night somewhere down by our house. So if I had a day off and the next day off, that's what I would do.
So it still involves 27 holes of golf, is what I figured.
Well, it depends. It depends on probably not 27. We'll play 18, at 4 o'clock at night and go hang out or do something. But it involves golf, but different version,
Gotcha.
a little more
So
relaxed version.
one of the other things Kip Henley texted me is he goes, dude, he's not from the country, but he's like country ass strong. Is kind of how we would say it. And so he's like, my question is, have you ever been in a fist fight?
Yeah, but like in high school and done stuff, but not many. One or
So,
two.
based on what Kip says, like if you had to think about it, who's the tour player that you would least like to get in the octagon if you had to fight him, like MMA style?
Um, Gary Woodland's kind of scary.
Woodland, he's a big dude,
He's built like a truck.
real swaggy too. Walks like he's
Yeah,
just,
he definitely knows some stuff. Like, there's definitely some guys that know some stuff that could like,
uh
you
huh.
know, break something out on you and it wouldn't feel good.
What if it's Siwoo? Like we don't even know that, but what if Siwoo's just
He's pretty. He's not. He's not
nice?
small. He's kind of
Yeah.
got some muscle to him.
You've probably been asked this before, but it's a lot of listeners like to hear stuff like this. You cash a big check at the John Deere, like $300,000 or something. What's something fun you did with it? Like what happened after you get the deposit?
Well, I went home and it was 4th of July the next day.
Nice.
So I went out with like 10 of my friends and we went on a all day
Drinks on me.
bender all
Yeah.
day down the shore. So that's how I spent the next day. I regret doing it because I felt terrible during Barbasol, but because I wasn't planning on playing Barbasol at all, and then I got in, so I had to play. But I was like, I need to go home and decompress for 2 days. But I didn't really decompress, so it was fun though. I had a good time.
That's good. What about the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself or hurt yourself? And maybe you
Uh, well, I've broken a couple bones, but um, I was playing a tournament in high school. It was something like AJGA. I don't play in many of them, but I played in one. was like the second round. And then we had one more the next day. And I went over to my buddy's house at night, and we were playing like, 2-on-2 basketball. And I fell and like did something to my forearm, either broke it or like something got jacked up. And I didn't tell my dad until the next morning when we were about to go. And I was like, I can't go. And he's like, well, we have to go over to the club and hit balls to see if you can play. And I'm like, my arm was a disaster. And we went over, and I could barely hit it like 10 yards, and he was so pissed at me because I didn't tell him, and that I went and played 2-on-2 basketball before the last round of the tournament. So that was a good one. I've got some other. There's not injuries, but some bad stuff during a tournament. I've learned my lesson.
Well, what is it? You gotta tell us. What do you mean?
Well, back in high school too, we had this tournament, the Liberty National Junior. It was, I don't know if it still exists. And also our prom was during it, and after prom. So I played in the tournament, went to all that stuff, and then had the last round the next day. And I actually played with Patrick Welch, who plays left-hand low on Oklahoma, and I didn't know who he was before. And I was pretty banged up the next day, and I didn't know that he played left-hand low or anything. So I was like, I didn't know what was going on the course, and I was in rough shape, and it was the craziest round ever. My dad had to drive me to the course, and I was like 8 over through 8 holes, and he walked in, and I had to play the last 10, and I shot like whatever, I shot 80 something. So that was another rough one. No injury, but was not feeling good.
You're in high school. You gotta live your life, man. You only got one prom.
Yeah, that was my argument. But he was like, you're gonna play in the tournament too, and I was like, all right, it's not gonna be good.
I'll play, but it's not gonna be pretty. All right, now listen. We don't talk to a whole lot of like single guys because it seems like everybody we talk to gets real cuffed up quick on the tour. You're a single dude. You're on the PGA Tour. You ever hit on a girl during a golf tournament? Have you ever picked up a chick on the course?
No, I mean, there's obviously stuff going on. Kip will say something to someone, but they're in. I mean, some of the events, there's always something going on, but I'm always so tired after like the rounds take so much out of you, like especially in the big ones when there's a crap ton of people out there, like U.S. Open. There's so many people. I usually always, if I have a big one, I have friends with me or like people from home that come up and hang out or whatever. But I'm not really when I'm in tournament mode. I'm not really on the pro.
Okay, Chris. Okay, I'll have to text Kip and be like, Kip, give me the.
He'll confirm. He's more about it than I am.
Who's like in your opinion, like who's the hottest golf influencer, golf person out there?
I honestly don't like. I don't. This is the stuff that I don't like. I don't follow all this stuff, but I know because my one friend always says it. Always sends it in our group chat or whatever. That I don't know how to say her last name. Paige, whatever.
Paige Sporanic.
Yeah, he always sends like her stuff and is like whatever, said some funny text. But yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you could punch any celebrity, we're very violent on the Tour Junkies podcast. If you could punch any celebrity or public figure in the face without any consequence, just one good right hook, or I get maybe left hook, probably right hook from Chris Gotterup, who would that be? Hold on, you cut out.
I'm not like in the loop, like all like the. I don't know. I don't have any like. I don't watch the news or I don't watch anything. Like I don't really hate anyone. Like maybe if I have like fan football and some guy drops 35 on me and I lose the match, that'll be my guy. But I don't have like I couldn't pick you one guy and say I want him dead.
That's funny, dude. That's actually another question I was going to get to. Is I was going to ask you fantasy sports or like traditional sports betting if you're in a legal betting state. Obviously not golf. We know you can't bet on golf, but football. So are you more of a fantasy guy or do you like both?
I have both. We have. I have a pretty big fantasy group with some old college guys and stuff like that, and some local friends. So we're pretty in tune with that, and so yeah, that's that. Like either ride or die Sundays, where your next week's gonna be pretty good or not good. So
Yeah.
and then obviously we have playing's legal here, so we all are betting and stuff like that, and just it makes the games more fun to watch. And
Yeah.
I don't really have like a favorite team in some sports, so it just makes it like when there's nothing to do on Wednesday night here and it's dark at 4:30, it makes NBA or something more fun.
But it's funny to me that you said that you would punch that's your best answer to that question is a guy who screws up for your fantasy team, and you're obviously going to be priced in DraftKings every single week or on FanDuel. Guys are going to have you on their teams. People are going to bet on you, and you're probably going to hear it from, if you haven't already, and you probably
Oh,
have, which
yeah.
we do not endorse. We hate that. We don't want people barking at you guys for their $10 lineup or whatever. It doesn't matter what size lineup they're doing or bet they're making. You guys are out there making a living. But that's, I mean, I'm sure you see the irony there. That's pretty funny. What would you say if somebody's like barking at you, like, "Come on, Gotterup"?
I've had people
Yeah.
do it, yeah, because I think I was like the betting favorite for Barbasol.
Yep.
I missed the cut, so like I had a bunch of people, just commenting on stuff. But it's pretty funny because it doesn't bother me because my friends they'll bet on me too, like
Yeah.
whatever. So I hear it from them.
Are they texting you? Do they do DraftKings golf at all? Like, Chris,
They do that, but they'll also do all the other
Yeah.
stuff too. So I mean, I'll hear it from them more than anyone. Like they'll be like, "Dude, what the hell was that round today?" I'll be like, and they play golf, but not like not the same. But so it's funny. It's more funny for me, like because I don't care if I lose someone. Like I mean, I'd like to make people money, but it doesn't change my day if I don't.
It's your job. Yeah. That's funny. All right. Real quick, I'm gonna give you a few this or that's, either ors. You got to pick one. You can't not pick one. You have to pick one, and then we're gonna be out of here. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, you got it. You got it. One of these for the rest of your life. These are both permanent. Either number one, you have to get a tramp stamp tattoo, like a real tramp stamp, right above your ass crack, like a girl, or you have to hit it like Chez Reavie for the rest of your life. You lose your Samson strength power. Which one?
I'm taking Chez Reavie all day.
You'd rather do that than the tramp stamp?
I played with him and he shot the easiest 5-6 under I've ever seen, so I'll take that.
Hell no! I would tramp stamp me in a heartbeat if I could just keep hitting it like you.
He hits every fairway, every green. It's the easiest job ever.
I can't believe that's what you said. I was confident you were going to be like,
"Oh, that was too easy."
Liquor or beer?
Liquor.
What do you like?
Tequila or vodka.
Same.
Something clear.
Same. Me and you, man. That's my move. All right, Krispy Kreme or Duncan?
They don't really have much Krispy Kreme, so Duncan.
Krispy Kreme is where it's at.
Yeah, I know it is, but they don't have it here, so I have to go with Duncan.
LeBron or MJ?
MJ.
Yeah. All right, this is a weird question. Again, for the rest of your life, this is how it is. You're either going to putt it like Luke List for the rest of your life, or you're going to be completely hairless, not a hair on your body, your head, your eyebrows, no hair anywhere for the rest of your life, or you putt it like Luke List.
I'll take Luke List because I've played with him, and it's not that. It's
statistically it's terrible. I just
yeah, but like watching it in person, it's not like I mean. When I played with Chez and I played with Luke, like Luke shot 7 under and it was like the easiest round I've ever seen in my life. So it can't be all bad, and it's better than having no hair. That's for sure.
Okay, I told you this was gonna be weird, man. Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr?
That's a tough one. I like them both. I think Chappelle, but I don't know.
That's good. Yeah,
that's a good one. Actually, I'm gonna go with Bill Burr. I like the way he says stuff. Like his accent makes it funnier.
Okay, the accent is funny. Better buzzed or sober? Better golf.
I'm terrible at golf when I drink.
Me too. Blondes or brunettes?
Brunette.
I pegged you as a blonde guy. NFL or college football?
College football is better to watch.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pick, like, because fantasy, like, if I have stuff riding on that, like, I love the NFL, but, like, if college football is on, if there's a good game, like, it's way better to watch.
Yeah. Go Dogs, by the way. Podcasts or music? I know you're a big EDM guy.
I'm a big music guy. It depends. Like, if I'm driving over, like, an hour or something, I'll put on a podcast or something. But if not, I'm music all the way.
What podcast do you like to listen to?
I listen to Two Bears, One Cave with Bert Kreischer and Segura.
Nice.
They're pretty entertaining.
Okay.
So that's good. Usually.
Are you by chance a Theo Von fan?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Like his, like some of his clips pop up and they're pretty funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Beach or the mountains?
Beach.
That sounds like you're a beach guy. Would you? You may have done one of these things, or would you rather skydiving or bungee jumping?
Well, I'd rather do neither. I'm not a big heights guy.
A heights guy? Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one, I'd rather skydive because bungee jumping would not sit well with me.
That's scary. Yeah. All right. Would you rather watch like a horror or suspense drama movie or a comedy?
Comedy, for sure.
Cook it yourself or go out and get it?
Probably go out and get it because I'm not like.
You're not a cook. Yeah.
I can cook, but not great.
Video games or just like a movie or a show vegetation session?
Video games, probably.
What do you like to play?
I play Call of Duty and NHL with my friends.
You get into some of those Call of Duty games on the road? I know there's a few. I know the Gotterup boys love to play Call of Duty on the road. The caddies.
I brought it this summer, but I never even got to it. So I would like to, but I just like before. I'm so like I'll watch like a TV show and I'm out cold.
Yeah. Okay. Puts you to sleep. Chris, listen, dude, this was a lot of fun. We appreciate the time. Definitely looking forward to watching you play a full season on the PGA Tour. Hopefully getting some majors. We're in Augusta, so if you find yourself qualifying for the Masters, we'd love to see you in person down here in Augusta, and I think that'd probably be a good course for you. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on the Tour Junkies podcast.
No problem. Appreciate it.